Sean Diddy Combs, his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, on the stand for cross-examination. Today is day one of the cross after a couple days of direct examination. Of course, federal court, so no cameras. We rely on our legal correspondent, Kelly Craft. She is outside of the federal courthouse giving us updates throughout the day. Heard from you last hour. Kelly, what can you add to your reporting? What's going on right now?
Well, hey there, Ted and Julia. So a few things that are important here, Ted, because we're talking about timing in this case. And how long will Cassie Ventura, who is 8.5 months pregnant, be on that witness stand? Well, right before the attorneys then went to lunch, so the jurors were gone, but before the attorneys then went to lunch, there was some discussion with the judge as to how long Cassie Ventura was going to be on the stand. And defense counsel made it clear that it's going to be all day today, probably all day tomorrow as well. And then if we talk about redirect, that's going to go into next week. To that, the judge kind of took issue with it and was saying, wait, hold on a minute here. We need to figure out the timing because we had thought that she was going to be done by the end of the week. And then defense counsel made an argument that, well, it was the government who called 2 witnesses before Cassie, indicating that if they would have structured their case in a different fashion, that maybe Cassie would have been done already. So they cannot be held accountable for what the government did in regard to how it structured its case. At one point, the government even asked that we think that the defense counsel's cross should be limited to the same amount of time that our direct examination was. Well, that didn't go over well either. So we'll have to see what happens here. But it looks like Cassie Ventura is going to be on the stand a lot longer than what probably she had hoped for, as well as the government, Ted and Julia. But talking about some of the testimony that did take place, again, they are just getting back on the record here inside the New York City courtroom. But prior to lunch, we have some things that we can put up for you as to what was said during that cross-examination. So let's go ahead and put up some of those things on the screen for you. So Ventura, she never told her friends about the freak-offs. She didn't want Combs' employees to know about them either. Combs' assistants would often set up the hotel rooms before a freak-off, but never walked in on one. That's really important because Cassie was asked this on the stand if she ever saw an employee of Combs walk into one of the freak-offs, and she said not to her recollection. She also was questioning about some other things, if we want to put those back up on the screen, because I'm reading them from here, questioning about Combs' drug habits, if he was a high-functioning addict. When asked what Combs was addicted to, Ventura's response was success. She said she didn't know specifically what he was taking day to day. So that's also very important to this case, Ted and Julia, because defense counsel talked about how Sean Combs used drugs. They're going to want to bring in some information about his drug use. And Cassie was not exactly clear on saying he was an addict or he was addicted to this or that. Her responses to those kinds of questions, she wasn't really giving much information. So defense counsel, when defense counsel presents its case, it definitely is going to bring up more information about the drugs that Sean was taking. And so defense counsel has said that they have at least 34 witnesses they're going to call in their case in chief. So of course, this case is going to be going for several more weeks, Ted and Julia.
Wow. Kelly Craft, thank you so much for that update. I know you'll keep us updated throughout the day. We'll let you go for now and bring in our domestic violence expert and former law enforcement officer, Claudia King, who is with us. Claudia King, this case is about, at the top, it's a RICO case, but sex trafficking. That's what is part of the racketeering that the government says Sean Diddy Combs was using his organization to promote. As a law enforcement officer, what's typically the definition of sex trafficking, and does it match what we're seeing here?
Right, so typically it would be traveling an individual, and typically across state lines, for the purpose of sexual relations that are being paid for in some way. So what we're looking at here, I think, does support that definition, because we know that Cassie was paying individuals through Diddy's money, and we're probably going to see potentially through the other victims whether other travel was taking place to different states, different locations, and where they were participating in these freak-offs.
So does, just to ask this question, does he have to receive money for this sex trafficking, because it seems that sexual gratification was his goal?
Right, so I agree with that. He doesn't have to receive money at all, in my opinion. He is gaining a benefit from it, which would suffice. So it doesn't have to be money, it is the gratification, in my opinion.
And the escorts are the ones that are being transported. They're obviously being compensated. But they don't, in your mind, you think of a sex trafficking victim not as a male escort that is, working for a living. I don't know why, but it just, to me, I'm thinking of someone who is there beyond, outside of their control and is being thrown to these different places and in horrible conditions. This guy's flying, or these men, they're flying to different areas around the world to participate in that. I wonder if that will affect the jurors' perception of the seriousness of all of this, especially with the defense questioning today, using these texts, saying, where Cassie is basically acknowledging her participation in it. Does it cloud it? Is the defense onto something here, or no?
I don't think they are. I think they're hoping that they are, but the prosecution's going to bring in this domestic violence expert to talk about most likely Cassie's state of mind and why she would have responded in the ways that she did via text or email or even in person, because her mindset was one of protection. She was trying to protect herself from any potential harm that she knew Diddy would do to her if she didn't agree, if she didn't say she enjoyed it, things like that.
Yeah, the statute says force, fraud, or coercion is required here, and that's what the defense has to say didn't happen.